Uh, Welcome, everyone. I have great pleasure in hosting today's events, the first seminar of the Strategy and Energy Policies Research Center. Today we'll be focusing on the European Union and the Eastern Mediterranean, and I have great pleasure in hosting Associate Professor Dr. Çiğdem Üstün, who is with us today. Çiğdem has actually graduated from Department of Political Science and Public Administration from Bilkent University and holds a Ph.D. from the University of Limerick in European Studies. She's actually known for her publications on Turkey-EU relations, security, NATO, and other aspects relating to the Eastern Mediterranean. Of course, I have also great pleasure in the sort of mentioning the fact that we have been working together with Çiğdem in a book edited by Çiğdem and Eda Kuşçu-Sönmez. The book was on Turkey's changing transatlantic relations. And here, actually, different aspects of Turkey's relations were discussed. Among them were Eastern Mediterranean as well, different aspects of the Eastern Mediterranean as well. And I will actually leave the floor to Çiğdem to give us a presentation on the topic, give us her seminar, and then we will participate in a question and answer session after finalizing her presentation and continue the discussion. Çiğdem?
Hello. Hi. First of all, Sait, thank you for inviting me. And I wish we were able to meet in person in on campus, Cyprus. It would have been really nice, but we have to do it online. But hopefully, in your following activities, we will be together face to face on your campus as well, I hope. So thanks for inviting me. Thanks for holding this event. As you mentioned, I'm going to talk about the European Union and its policies in the Mediterranean and the Eastern Mediterranean. And I will try to give my presentation like 35 minutes maybe. And 35, I will try to have it at 35 minutes. And then I would be very, very happy if you have any questions, please let me know. I would try to answer them as much as I can, but I can ask your help as well in answering those questions if I don't have any answers, since you were the expert, in fact, in writing about the Eastern Mediterranean and Greece, Turkey, and the whole regional politics in the book that you mentioned. So I may need your help when answering the questions. I have a presentation. I have a slide, so I will just share it now, and let me try now. Yes, I think I managed it. If you have any problems, please let me know. So, as I said, we are going to talk about the European Union and the Eastern Mediterranean today. And what we are about is, first, I'm going to try to give you an EU's neighborhood perspective. And what was its approach towards its neighbors and how it evolved. So a little summary. I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of course, the Eastern Partnership or the Eastern policies, but we are going to focus on the Mediterranean. And a little summary since mid-1990s, what happened in EU's policies in the Mediterranean. Then we will go to the EastMed and what happened there, and what did EU do. So here I don't want to go step by step chronologically what happened, which ship was sent where, which gas field, etc., but just focus more on what did the European Union do, and then maybe try to answer together. I would really like to have your opinions as well, your answers to this question as well. That can we consider the European Union as a successful actor in the region? And did it achieve its main aim, which was creating ring of friends at the beginning of all this neighborhood policies? So I would be very happy to hear your perspective, your views on these questions as well. So when we look at the European Union and its policies in the Mediterranean, as I said, it goes all the way back to 1990s. And with the Barcelona process, the aim was creating a ring of friends. Ring of friends meaning that economically prosperous, democratized, respectful to rule of law, friends all around the EU neighbors. So that was the idea. And then in the 2000s, as you all know, the European Union had the big enlargement, and in the first half of the 2000s, we have seen the European neighborhood policy. And of course, European neighborhood policy has an Eastern component as well, but we are talking about the Mediterranean today. So the Mediterranean policy was again talking about development, was talking about democratization, respect for rule of law. In the European neighborhood policy, these were priorities as well. But here, what is important to remember is that the European Union has seen the region as a whole. It didn't have a differentiated approach at the beginning. It didn't have the more for more approach at the beginning, but all these things came afterwards. In 2007, though, we have seen another step towards forming a new regional policy. It was French initiative, and the idea was to establish a union, Mediterranean Union, separate from the European Union, separate from the European neighborhood policy, in fact, separate from the Barcelona process at the beginning, the initiative, at the first steps. And the southern and the northern Mediterranean countries are going to come together in this new union. Well, in this new suggestion, well, Turkey was supposed to be a part of this Mediterranean Union, not the European Union. So Turkey rejected this idea, this policy, and there were long debates in the European Union as well. And at the end of all these debates, this idea turned into Union for Mediterranean, and it became part of the Barcelona Euromed partnership, the neighborhood policy, the general EU policy towards the Mediterranean. So from 1990s till like 2004, 2005, the Euromed partnership had three main baskets. It was the political aspect, political basket. Here we had the security as well. We also had the economy as the second basket, and we had the social cooperation, more people-to-people contact in the third basket. Well, in 2005, we have migration included in this cooperation, and migration started shaping the policies of the European Union towards the region, and it during the years 2010s, when we come to the Arab uprisings and so on, 2010s, the migration became maybe the number one priority in the relations with the region. So from 2005 till today, we have seen the increase in the importance given to migration as part of the Euromed partnership. So all these things were all about creating this ring of friends and economically prosperous, democratic, respectful to rule of law. And Europeans' approach to the security issues was based more on democratization and rule of law, establishment of rule of law, and so on, in the 1990s and at the beginning of 2000s as well. So we were talking about a normative EU, norm-based, value-based EU foreign policy, etc., etc. But as we see during the years, this changes, and we are mainly talking more on strategy, more talking about strategic importance, interests, and so on. So, in the whole process of the European Union's policies towards the region, one of the main criticisms that the EU had was turning more into an interest-based actor rather than the normative-based actor as it started. And we are going to see it in the Council conclusions and its policies in the Eastern Mediterranean too. Well, the European Union's Mediterranean policy has been criticized forever. So it's not something new that we are criticizing now. But in the 1990s, it was criticized. At the beginning of 2000s, this was criticized. Well, when I was doing my PhD, we had this colleague. He was working on the Mediterranean policies of the European Union, and this was the beginning of 2000s. Okay, we just started talking about the European neighborhood policy and so on at the time when I was having my PhD, and in his even at that time in his interviews in the field, the European Union has been mainly criticized because of the financial assistance given to the states of the region, saying that, well, EU is talking about democratization, EU is talking about respect for rule of law and so on. But the EU is financing the undemocratic governments. So if you are financing the undemocratic governments, they are not going to democratize the country, democratize the state. So EU is doing something wrong. So this was the main criticism back then. And then we have seen a change in the EU's approach. We started talking about more for more approach, both in the Eastern and the Southern neighborhood policies. So if you democratize more, then there will be more assistance. Then more civil society components were included in the 2000s into the neighborhood policy and so on. So with the criticisms, the EU changed its policies, and the neighborhood policies, both the Mediterranean and the Eastern policies, developed during the years. But then in 2010s, we have the Arab uprisings. First, it was seen as a move for democratization in the region, so it was mainly welcomed. But we also realized that all these uprisings are changing the status quo. Changing the status quo means that the perceived security threats are changing, perceived security threats are increasing, and migration became one of the main security threats, perceived security threats in this period, when in some of the countries uprisings turned into civil wars, and the migration flows started from the region to the European Union countries. countries, and we all know what happened afterwards. So migration became the priority in the regional policies for the European Union. So this is a very, very short summary of what was the EU's Mediterranean policies we're talking about, we're trying to achieve. So if we look at what happened in the Eastern Mediterranean, is that in the 2010s, again mid-2010s, we are starting to see an increase in the tension. Well, 2000. I mean, I told you that I'm not going to go into the details of which ship went to which gas field and how many times that the ships went and come back. I'm not going to talk about those things, of course. But in 2015, these activities are increasing, and from 2015 onwards, mid 2010s. Onwards, the tension is increasing. And in 2016, for example, Greece, Israel, Cyprus is having their first trilateral summit. Southern Cyprus is having the first trilateral summit. And then in 2017, we are seeing the diplomatic crisis with Qatar in the region. And then we are seeing that there's discovery of gas in 2018 February, and 2019 we have the EastMed Gas Forum established. So in this EastMed Gas Forum, the whole idea was to develop a gas market, right? And in this initiative, Turkey was not included in this forum. It was not a part of this forum. We have seen Turkey rejecting this forum, and also feeling isolated from the regional politics. So when we are talking about Eastern Mediterranean, when we are talking about the gas market, energy market, and so on, we are not just only talking about energy. We are not just talking about the amount of the gas that is discovered in the sea. We are talking about a regional political balance, and in this regional political balance, Turkey was not part of it. So this was one of the events that increased tension more and more. Then we are seeing United States increasing its presence in the region. In 2019 March, we are seeing US, Greece, Southern Cyprus, and Israel signing the EastMed pipeline agreement. Then we are seeing that France is agreeing with Southern Cyprus to service French warships at the naval base. So both at the security aspect, military aspect, and in terms of the energy resources as well, we are seeing that there are certain alliances being formed, and Turkey, seeing itself as an important regional actor, is left out. Okay, so and so of course this is not acceptable for Turkey. Turkey is an important actor in the region, so it has to be present in the regional politics. So that's the Turkish foreign policy for almost forever. So all these things are happening, new alliances are being formed, and so on. And in 2019, in June, in the summer, we are seeing that the Med7 summit is coming together, and they are saying that European Union should be vigilant on what's going on in the Eastern Mediterranean, and in case Turkey does not stop these drilling activities and so on, the European Union should consider appropriate measures in full solidarity with Cyprus. That's what the Med7 summit conclusions is saying. So, just in like a month, the council meets in 2019 July, and they are saying that we are going to suspend negotiations on comprehensive air transport agreement, and they are saying that they're agreeing not to host the Association Council and further meetings of EU-Turkey high-level dialogues for the time being. So they're saying let's cut the dialogue, and then they are saying that let's decrease the amount of pre-accession assistance given to Turkey for next year in 2020, and the European Investment Bank should review its lending activities in Turkey, notably with regard to sovereign-backed lending. That's what the Council is saying in mid-July. So we are, when you are reducing the pre-accession assistance to Turkey, that means that would also include assistance given to the migrants as well. So here, there was a lot of debate on this reduction of the pre-accession assistance given to Turkey in terms of migration. There were lots of heated debates on that. Then in November, we are seeing that framework for sanctions on Turkey is decided. And in this framework, what we have seen is that the sanctions will be on individuals or on entities who are involved in the drilling activities in the Eastern Mediterranean. And the sanctions may consist of a travel ban to EU, and the assets for the people and the entities will be frozen. Plus, EU persons and entities will be forbidden from making funds available to those lists. So it is very consistent with what was decided in the July 2019 meeting. And in February 2020, we have seen that there was a list published in the official journal of the European Union, and in this list there were the people, the individuals listed were high-level officials from Turkish Petroleum Company. And so EU took steps in terms of these framework for sanctions. They decided on the framework, and they listed individuals in the official journal. So there were steps taken by the European Union. So what was happening outside of the European Union was that Turkey got S-400s from Russia in 2019. We have also seen that US and Greece agreeing on a new strategic partnership and defense agreement, and US expanding its presence in the region. In November 2019, we have seen Turkey and Libya agreement. So outside of the European Union, there was the tension was also increasing in the region. So even if the European Union was not a part of the other increasing issues, there were global actors involved in the issues in the region too. So it is not only about the European Union, Turkey, and the regional states issue, but it is also the US is involved in it. Russia is part of the all these issues in 2019. When we look at the whole all developments by the end of the year, we see almost all actors being involved in the region. So the European Union was taking steps, the US is taking steps, Turkey is taking steps, etc. And in 2019 December, we have also seen the United States passing an act on the East Med Security and Energy, which authorized assistance to Cyprus, of course, to Southern Cyprus, that's what they mean. Greece lifts arms embargo on Cyprus and authorizes the establishment of a U.S. Eastern Mediterranean Energy Center. So, by the end of the 2019, this is the this is the point where we are. But in 2020, we are seeing a different a difference in the tension. We are seeing that more dialogue, the diplomatic dialogues have started. Of course, in these diplomatic dialogue that we see, these drilling ships, the naval vessels, etc., they are being used as tools in the region. But we have started seeing that the parties involved are talking to each other. Greece and Turkey started saying that they will talk to each other. The high-level dialogues may start with the European Union and so on and so forth. But here we have seen Greece, especially going to missions, coming back, and they became. So if we are going to understand what really was happening with what was happening in the field and at the diplomatic level, we need to look at both the summits and the meetings and the activities at the sea together. So, for example, in September 2020, Greece came back to Antalya for maintenance. In 2020 October, and it was said that it was going to stay in Antalya for a month, and then in October it goes back to the mission. And I think it was the 29th of November 2020 that the mission ended, and it came back. And 2020 December meeting was on the 10th and 11th. So it was only 10 days for the council meeting when Greece came back to Antalya. So in 2020 December, though, the tone of the council is changing. Here we have seen that the European Union is talking about strategic interest. And they are offering a positive EU-Turkey agenda. And the European Union is saying that they are noting Turkey's withdrawal of the vessel Greece, and they're insisting that the de-escalation should continue. The talks between Greece and Turkey should continue, and smooth continuation it should have. And it is said that the EU and Turkey has strategic common points, mutual concerns. So there should be a cooperation, there should be a beneficial relationship. So interests are becoming more forefront. And the positive EU-Turkey agenda is covering economy, is covering trade, people-to-people contacts, and high-level dialogues and cooperation on migration issues. So migration is there as a mutual concern, as a common point that the EU and Turkey should cooperate on. And EU, also the conclusions are saying that EU will also be prepared to continue providing financial assistance to Syrian refugees host communities in Turkey, and to cooperate on the responsible management of migration flows towards all member states, and on stepping up efforts in the fight against migrant smuggler networks. So 2020 December conclusions are very much showing us what are the priorities in the relations. In 2021 March, this is the this is the main document that we see. The interests are coming more and more visible. Is that the modernization of the customs union, the high-level dialogues on the issues of mutual concerns, people contacts and mobility. All these things are being more visible. Okay, and yes, the European Union talks about the de-escalation of the tension in the region, the talks with Greece and Turkey, and so on and so forth. But this is a very big step, because in the talking about the modernization of the customs union, some mutual concerns and the people-to-people contact and mobility. This is important, because in the AKA the migrant deal, the statement on Turkey-EU, the migrant deal was foreseeing visa liberalization, mobility between Turkey and EU. It was foreseeing more development in the relations, right? The EU-Turkey relations. So modernization of the customs union have been mentioned several times by the experts as a way to connect Turkey and the European Union. So all these things that were considered to have a potential positive impact on Turkey-EU relations, we have seen it in the 2020 March conclusions, statements. And here it was also said that the migrants, the issues related to migrants are there in the conclusions. European Union is saying that they appreciate Turkey's hosting of around 4 million Syrian refugees, and the Council will continue financing the Syrian refugees in Turkey. So all these things that are happening is showing us that the migrants, dealing with the migrants, is the main interest of the European Union in its relations with Turkey. That is what the feeling is giving. All these conclusions, all these statements. So can we really talk about a normative European Union in the relations? It has been the biggest question in that sense. Plus, another question is that whether we can consider the European Union being effective in the de-escalation of the tension in the region, or should we also talk about the United States? Should we talk about the problematic relations in the transatlantic relations as a whole, having an effect on this de-escalation or not? So can we talk about a general change in Turkish foreign policy, maybe towards the region, i.e. Egypt, for example, in these days we are seeing, and can we really think that the European Union has an impact on those? So these were the main questions, and to consider whether the European Union is effective or not. But I would say that the European Union's sanctions, European Union's policies by its own was not the reason for any de-escalation, was not the reason for any any change in the attitude or whatever. But we have to look at it from a more kind of broad aspect, and we should also think about the United States, all the aspects of the transatlantic relations, the change in the American administration, and so on and so forth, everything all together in order to understand the changes in the regional politics, rather than seeing EU as the actor which had an effect on the changes and on the de-escalation and so on. About normative actorness of the European Union, whether we can still call it as a normative actor, whether we can call it as a value-based, norm-based foreign policy, what the EU is doing in the region, I think it is very, very difficult to consider it as a norm-based actor. But it may, especially as the European Union became more involved in any part, not only in the Mediterranean, but in other parts of the neighborhood as well. As it became more involved, as it became more part of the conflicts, instead of the norm-based foreign policy, we have started seeing more interest-based policies, and the common interests, common mutual concerns, all these mutual interests, strategic importance, all these keywords are more and more visible in the statements of the European Union as well. So in terms of the relations between Turkey and the EU, we have seen that the relations, the transactionalism, interest-based, differentiated integration approach, etc., these are more talked about these days. So if you have any questions, I can go into the details of them too, if you want. But I will just stop here for now, and I will take your questions. And if you want me to go through the Turkey-EU relations, transactionalism, differentiated integration, etc., then I can talk about them as well.
Thank you, Çiğdem. Actually, a great framework here. Let me actually present the first question. We don't have a question yet. If we take actually a reverse chronological approach, I see that one of the latest development in terms of the Turkey-EU relations regards Turkey's application to be part of the permanent structured cooperation projects, especially the one regarding military mobility led by the Dutch. Here, actually, I'm interested in how you perceive this application within the security versus values dilemma. In this sense, is there an attempt to restructure Turkey relations within the framework of security and use perhaps PESCO as a framework for that? And can that help actually? Can that kind of cooperation help normalize relations between Turkey, Greece, and Cyprus at one point?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I just left with Turkey-EU relations and the change of the structure. Maybe it's just going through a paradigmatic shift, a change in the relations as well. Yes, we have been talking about the membership, full membership of the European Union, of Turkey to the European Union, and in that membership. The membership talks as well, the security has been an important part of the talks, right? In the 1990s, we have seen it. In the 2000s, we have seen it. Turkey, NATO, European Union, Cyprus, all these issues have been a very important part of the membership talks as well. candidacy and so on. So we can see that being a part of the European security structures is important for Turkey, and it doesn't change from government to government. Yes, sometimes it becomes more important, sometimes it becomes less visible, maybe, but that's established foreign policy of Turkey. I would say that being a part of the Western organizations, Western structures, this was something that we have seen almost all the time. So now something new is being established in the European Union. I see PESCO as an important link between NATO and the European Union as well. I mean, it's an important link there. So there are projects that would help the European security structure, but it would also means that it is helping the NATO structure. So it is not something separate from NATO. It is not something that we can think about outside the whole Western security structure. It's a part of it. So of course, I would say that it is very understandable and something that we would expect Turkey to want to become a part of it. But there are certain criteria, the requirements that were already decided on whether whether a third state would be part of the PESCO projects or not, and we have some issues meeting those requirements. So it is it is not possible to expect that the EU partners, in this case, for example, the Dutch, saying that, oh yes, Turkey should be part of this project. We shouldn't be expecting that. But I think this is a very symbolic step, showing that Turkey wants to become a part, is still wanting to become a part of the Western structures as well. So when we consider all these debates, whether Turkey is leaving the West, going to the East, and so on and so forth, I think this has a symbolic impact, symbolic meaning in applying for this. And in terms of relations with NATO, EU, Turkey, unfortunately, as long as we have the Cyprus issue, it is a little difficult to have any solution found to the NATO-EU cooperation and Turkey's veto in that in that respect. So I am not very optimistic in that, but it has a meaning in terms of what Turkey is trying to show, I think. Also, it is also a part of all this differentiated integration debate. Security as becoming, just like as I said, how the customs union, modernization of the customs union is a link between the European and Turkey, and it would increase the talks in the dialogue. It was suggested, and so of course this.
We're having problems hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we did. We couldn't hear your last sentence, actually.
Oh, okay. So also, I mean, PESCO is also can be considered as part of this differentiated integration debate, and this cooperation in these projects, in these security-based projects, may be considered as a tool in linking the European Union and Turkey as well. So it's a functional approach, I would say.
Yes, I agree with you, actually, and we have to emphasize here that the values that are presented as requirements actually mention democratic values. And of course, good neighborly relations. And here, actually, the Cyprus issue becomes a major issue. Let me get a question from Cemal Yorgancıoğlu, actually, which is quite related to this. He's asking whether politics of France and its relations with the Southern Cyprus, the Greek Cypriot administration, helped the European Union's Mediterranean politics. Actually, we can ask the question in a different way. How does perhaps Cyprus complicate, or the Greek Cypriot administration and Greek policies complicate the European Union's Mediterranean policy?
How the effect of France's involvement in all this on the European Union? See, this is the thing, that the European Union, whether it wants or not, it is part of the conflict now. And so it's not only through Greece, it's not only through Southern Cyprus, but as France is becoming more involved, as I said, there were these military agreements between the Southern Cyprus and France, and France from the Mediterranean Union, let's say, is trying to increase its presence in the region, right? So as France is trying to be an actor, or maybe the actor, I would say this is difficult for the European Union, because European Union wants to talk about norms, values, or dialogue, or cooperation, or assistance, or development, all those basic tools that it established all these years. It has France, Greece, and Southern Cyprus as the actors in the region, trying to increase their interest, to maximize their interest, and strengthen their position. So I would say that all these things are difficulties for the European Union in deciding on a foreign policy in the region. I mean, it is already difficult for the European Union to have a very ambitious policy, right? Because we are all talking about the lowest common denominator when it comes to the foreign policy of the European Union. And if you have member states who have very high ambitions, then I would say that it is making it very difficult for the European Union to decide on policies and in the external affairs.
Dilek Latif's question is actually quite relevant to this as well. She's asking how you evaluate the role of the European Union in the ISMED since the discovery of the hydrocarbons from the perspective or approach of the EU as a global actor.
Okay, the question is whether the EU is a global actor or not. So, first of all, can we really consider EU as a global actor? Is something that we all debate. I mean, personally, I really would like to see EU as a global actor, because I really believe that all the values, all the norms, and every aspect of this normative actorness that it had been talking about all these years, and that is something that we need in our international relations, I would say. But especially by the end of the 2010s and in these couple of years, 2020, 2021, what we are seeing is more conflictual, more interest-based, more tension all over the world. So it is very difficult for EU to keep its normative actorness, its actorness in these conflict situations. Okay, and unfortunately, we turned back to the debate on this expectations capabilities gap of the European Union and so on. So, first of all, EU being a global actor is a question that we should be thinking about. So, how do I evaluate the role of the EU in ISMED? Is that, as I said, it is very difficult for the European Union to have very ambitious or to have very determined, in that sense, policies and keep up with it, because there are different security threats, perceived security threats for each member state, migration one of them. Then France having other interests, other concerns, Greece, Turkey, another issue, Cyprus, Turkey, another one. All these countries are part of the European Union. So when there's going to be a decision, EU should be trying to balance all these priorities of the member states and so on. So it is very difficult for the EU to have a leading role in the East Med, I would say. It is a little too complicated for EU to have a leading role.
Can we actually link two questions here? One from Emine Sülün. She's saying that Ankara is responding to fait accomplis in the region by imposing its own ones. And she's asking whether you think that the EU de facto recognizes Turkey as an actor in natural gas-related developments in the region.
I mean, when it comes to the energy politics, you cannot really not see Turkey as an actor, I would say. I mean, Turkey is typical. I mean, we say that it's a cliche, it's a typical rhetoric we keep saying it, but the geostrategic importance of Turkey is there when it comes to the energy, when it comes to the natural gas, when it comes to transfer of the energy resources from energy producing countries to energy consuming countries. So I would say that yes, Turkey is an actor, but the thing is, in the Eastern Mediterranean or in the whole region, it's not about gas. It is not about energy only. There are other policies, other priorities as well. So if it is only, I mean, that's why in differentiated integration, energy is also seen as policy area in which Turkey and EU can cooperate and develop relations more. But when there are other issues involved, then it is very difficult to continue cooperation in only energy sectors. So energy becomes a tool in other foreign policy issues. So it makes it very difficult for cooperation in that sense.
There are a couple of questions on migration, but before moving on to migration, I would like to forward the question by Sohbet Karpoz. Do you think the EU's renewed partnership with the southern neighborhoods from early 2021 onwards will bring any change?
I would like to say yes. But I don't have very high hopes when it comes to EU's policies in the region. So I don't think that any policy that the EU is initiating, any partnership, any policy is going to bring groundbreaking changes in the relations. I am a little pessimistic. Sorry, Sohbet.
Okay, before moving on to the migration issue, let's finish the Cyprus dimension too. Hüseyin Işıksal is actually asking a question concerning Turkey's limits. He's asking, how can you define the extreme limits of EU's possible sanctions and or policies against Turkey in the worst scenario with respect to the Eastern Mediterranean?
How you can define the extreme?
How far can the European Union go?
Not far. But I mean, as I tried to say it in the presentation, but let me clarify it once again. I mean, in 2019, when we started talking about these drilling activities and so on and so forth, we have seen that there were very loud, let's say, statements on the sanctions on Turkey, sanctions sanctions on the people, entities, and so on and so forth. So when the framework for the sanctions was published, it seemed like there were going to be a lot of sanctions, big sanctions on anybody related with these drilling activities, or anybody doing any business in the region, right? But when we look at the sanctions list, we are seeing that it is very limited. So that was one of the reasons why the EU was criticized in that sense. That although it had all these maybe promises made that there will be big sanctions and so on and so forth, when the real sanctions, real list was out, it did not really satisfy some people, satisfy some actors. So even in the worst case scenario, that's why I am emphasizing migration all the time. In the worst case scenario, even the relations go south, very south. Migration is there as a mutual concern of the European Union and Turkey. And European Union's foreign policy is being shaped by fear of migrants. And so this is limiting the European Union in its foreign policy towards the region, I think. So I don't think that it would be very far, the sanctions.
I guess, I mean, we can add to that by saying that the forces of cooperation actually have pushed forward, despite the French, Greek Cypriot, and Greek attempts to corner Turkey by sanctions. And Germans have been quite insistent on dialogue. And we see that actually the results of the December 2020 summit, as you have mentioned, makes this more visible, trying to address the problem through dialogue rather than, or through cooperation in a limited sense, by through security rather than, adversarial positions.
I just want to check the date. I don't want to make a mistake. That's why I will check it. But I mean, you remember that in March 2020, Turkey said, I opened the borders from Edirne, migrants can go. And we all remember all that humanitarian tragedy that happened at the border, and people were left at that corridor. They were not in Turkey, they were not in Greece. So, I mean, unfortunately, migrants and the migration is a tool it has become a tool in the relations, and it is tragic. There is a humanitarian tragedy, yes, but unfortunately, we see that in the relations.
So we can actually go to the migration questions here. Thank you for that pass. We actually have.
I didn't realize I did it, but it happened.
We have actually a number of questions from Pekele Gobapaye. He's asking, whether the European Union's migration policy takes into account the security of the member states in the face of growing terrorist threats around the world that undermine international security. And goes forward actually asking the following question: can the EU now focus more on designing a comprehensive framework for migration that focuses primarily on the root causes of migration?
Okay, so root causes. That was the approach that the European Union had in the 1990s. That was the whole approach. Like, let's find the root causes. Let's find a solution to those problems, so that there will not be migrants coming from Southern Mediterranean or Africa to the European Union. So what was it? Democratization, economic prosperity, rule of law. That if we have all these things in the neighborhood, then people are not going to come to European Union countries, and so we are going to prevent migration. That was the more or less that was the summary of the approach. But today, I don't think that. I mean, I don't say that European Union is leaving all this to aside and then just establishing a more ad hoc policies against threats only. Yes, this is still a part of the framework for relations with the neighbors, to stop migration, or yes, this is still there. But what we are also seeing that an increase in the, for example, budget of Frontex, it increased highly. So we are seeing a more active border security in the policies as well. So I wouldn't say that the EU would be only emphasize, only focus on the root causes anymore, but it is two-sided. Yes, the root causes, democratization, economic prosperity, rule of law. Yes, it is going to be a part of these policies. Yes, but in this comprehensive framework, as he or she, I don't know, has said, there is a hard power aspect in this framework as well. Okay, so I'm not saying that it is going to be only on the root causes. I cannot really say that.
Perhaps we can add to that EU's attempts to actually define development as one of its policy priorities in the 2000s, following the Doha round of talks as well. But I also want to draw attention to the contextual framework. Perhaps 1990s and the 2000s were good times, perhaps where such aspects could be prioritized more strongly.
Yep. The international, the requirements of the system changed as well, I would say. I mean, in the 1990s, it was just after the Cold War. We all thought that there was not going to be any wars and there will be peace. The international system will be more based on cooperation since the communism fell, and that was the spirit, right? We remember those days, like we were talking about liberalism, liberal institutionalism, cooperation. Those were the things that we used to talk about. And in the 2000s, yes, we had 9/11. We started talking about changing security threats and so on, but it was not like 2010 still. We were talking about international organizations' role in solving problems, solving issues. And we are less talking about liberal international institutionalism, but more neorealism, I would say. So the context change as well. So and the EU is trying to find its way in this new international context.
Let me ask the next question, despite we know the answer. It's a very short one from Miriam Al Hassan. She asks whether there is any chance for Turkey to eventually join the European Union soon.
Soon, no. No.
I mean, that's kind of a $1 million question in the Turkey relation, which
Turkey
is
relations. Can Turkey become a member of the EU soon? No.
Yeah.
But there are very, very different scenarios, what is going to be the future of the European Union and so on and so forth. So soon, no, but the structure of the European Union, the integration model changes, etc., etc. All these debates and Turkey's part in them are being debated.
A question from Nur Köprülü. Dear Nur is asking whether you think that the EU would be able to develop and stimulate a divergent policy towards ISMET distinct from the US.
Not really. I mean, if we were in Trump times, I may have said, yeah, it is possible. But with Biden administration, a closer relationship between European partners and the United States have been emphasized more and more. So if there is going to be a policy, I don't think that it would be very different from the US perspective.
Do you think that they can actually provide a more common approach? I mean, I remember Borrell saying last year, the High Representative of the European Union, when they were actually to meet Pompeo, this Secretary for State last year, he was saying that the US was only interested in the Libya case, but nothing more concerning the ISMET. I mean, we know that the EU and the US, following actually the March Foreign Ministers meeting, have made declarations regarding their intention to work hand in hand or together versus China and Russia, and perhaps in this region too, because the US has actually been complaining a lot about Russian and Chinese involvement in this region.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I meant. Like with the Biden administration, like United States said, we are back to this whole international balance, right? So the transatlantic relations and the transatlantic relations, with U.S. European partners relations are crucial in the Middle East, and in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the whole region. And if you are talking about Russia as an actor in the East Med as well, I would suppose that the US would have some interest in there too. And so if the EU is a part of this whole region, I mean, together with its members, but also as part of its neighborhood policy and so on, as external affairs, I would think that they would be talking more of a common approach, common policies towards the region.
One final question. I mean, for us Cypriots, this is, quite challenging because we think we're the center of the world. We are not the only problem. We are not the only problem in the Eastern Mediterranean region. Nur Köprülü is asking about the EU's approach towards Palestine. If you can make a few comments on that.
I can't. I am not good with the Middle East politics. Sorry. No, you would know much better than I do, I would say. But so I would be. I would not be feeling comfortable talking about the Middle East issues, I have to say. I am not really an expert on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Çiğdem. Actually, that was the final question. I'd like to thank you actually very much for taking part in this first seminar of the Strategy and Energy Policies Research Center. That means a lot to me. I mean, for those who don't know, I have known Çiğdem for ages now.
Let's not say the years, okay?
Okay, I'm not mentioning the years, you see. And work closely with her in terms of developing projects and faculty work. So I appreciate really your contribution here. Thanks a lot.
I thank you really for inviting me. It was really nice to talk to you and to have questions as well. And as I said, I hope that we will be all together in other activities of your center in the future. I would really like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to the participants as well for listening. Ferda Hanım.
Never nothing when it's real.